some its ancestor, to others its totem, to some others it's the beloved dead, to still others it is monados, or great ones who walk among the mountains. But in every case, these people have a natural esotericism. They have natural mystical qualities, which they have not outgrown by sophistication. Now, it's true that these faculties are genuine in many instances, and it is also true that they have gradually dropped out of sight. Well, the answer to that is also understandable. The reason why primitive psychism has gradually faded away is because it again became a blind alley. Primitive psychism kept the individual from actually realizing the realities. It was a kind of protection. It was as though parents were taking care of children, and the child turned to the parent for everything, or turned to the teacher for everything. But after a while, the child grows up to the point where it must make its own decisions. It must no longer lean or depend. It can no longer depend for its survival upon some benevolent power beyond its understanding. It must actually learn to stand, to live, to become a being, and transmute negative natural relationships into positive natural cooperations. It is not enough that we should believe in a summer land beyond the grave. It is that we should have the intelligence and the intellect to use all of our extrasensory perceptions as nature intended, service, to use them entirely to help to discover this divine reality, which is the end and goal of our search while we remain in the human stage of development. So we have to keep on working with this problem. We have a lunch and we eat something, and this something mysteriously gets absorbed, transformed. We don't tell the stomach what to do. Sometimes we put it in a position where it can't do anything. Under such conditions, it becomes a little resentful. Then we bring out the bicarbonate of soda. But all the processes of the body, from the beating of the heart to the nutrition of cells, everything that happens within this circumference of our skin is incredible. It is a miracle upon miracles every moment. There seems to be no way in which we can explain the wisdom of body cells, that we can actually realize the conscious cooperation of tissues. We cannot understand these things, because in some mysterious way our mind has sort of outgrown being a small cell, and we are now interested in trying to be a greater cell somewhere else. But actually, the miracle of existence is present to us every moment. It is present to us in the birth of every child that comes into the world. It is in us in every proof of the continual principle of life that is transferred from one generation to another. How, we do not know. We can see only certain physical symptoms, symbols, procedures, but the great transmission of life is beyond human understanding. Therefore, we have a little world, a little island of thoughtfulness in a great ocean of the unknown. We are constantly seeking to know more, but because of the peculiar dulling of our instruments, we have gradually turned away from the search for the unknowable to the gradual refinement of things that we do immediately see some value coming from. But actually, this one thing that we don't see is the only thing that is important. It is the basis of law. Within it is the absolute way in which everything has to be done. Within it is the proof of human growth. Within it is the release by which the individual gradually, step by step, actually grows up into a divine nature. And sometime in the infinite of things may be a God in his own right. But all these things are based upon an energy, what the alchemists called the spirit or souls of the metals. The souls of the metals can be brought together, and here is a very interesting point. Von Willing, in his Opus Cabalisticum, points out that no metal can be combined with another metal in its present state. One gross metal cannot be amalgam to another gross metal in terms of alchemy. Before an element can become mingled with another element, it must be sublimated itself and its own individuality overcome. It must cease to have separateness before it can be united with anything else. Therefore, the essences of the metals can be combined, but the bodies of the metals cannot be combined. To form, that is, they can be combined on a physical level for purposes of hardware, but not in terms of mystical understanding. So before any form of knowledge can be united to another form of knowledge, both of these elements must be subjected to and reduced to their principle. Therefore, we have to go behind what is known. We have to break through knowledge in the sense of tradition. We have to break through knowledge in the sense that it is a binding power. When we say, I know, and what we are really doing is quoting from a text from Harvard or Oxford, this won't do it. None of the knowledge that comes from the outside, in its natural outside form, can be united with any other form of knowledge on the outside. Therefore, before knowledge can be united with another form, it must be reduced itself or elevated to the state of a soul principle. It must be transmuted in itself from body to soul. Souls can mingle, bodies cannot. Therefore, all knowledge, before it can mingle with other knowledge, must lose the errors in itself. It must be relieved of the traditional limitations which the mind has placed upon it. We must no longer defend schools of thought, because these thought schools can never be reconciled. But if thought can be rescued from schools, it can mingle with other thoughts. The same is true in religion. We cannot take one religion and impose it upon another, because the separatenesses are all artificial. We take two great religions, we study them. We discover that in substance and essence their teaching is relatively identical. We realize that the Ten Commandments are everywhere in the world, and as long as we think of them as principles, we can understand and apply them. But the moment we limit that pattern to a religion, and another religion disagrees with us, though believing the same, we then come into religious hostility and persecution. We cannot worship God separately and be at the same time one in our religious consciousness. When we, however, get over the sectarian fact and face into the divine reality, all religions can meet. We can all meet upon the level of certain principles, but never after these principles have been embodied in various creedal and sectarian patterns until they have become practically mummified in them. Have they died in the sectarianism which destroyed their power to be one. So if we want to get one religion in this world, a religion in which all truth is available, and for the end forever of the problems caused by religious differences, there'll be no more inquisitions, no more crusades, no more fighting even in family life over religious memberships. If we really have religion, we're safe. If we have theology, we're in serious trouble. And it is the same with everything else. Languages. We need more languages, but we need to realize that someday we're going to have to find what the ancient Aya people found 10,000 years ago, that there is a root language. And when we understand and know that root language, we can all communicate with each other. It isn't necessary to take lessons in a dozen languages to become a great linguist. It is only necessary to find the common root of communication. There is one, but we haven't found it yet. There always has been. In medicine, there is only one art, the art of healing. There are all schools of medicine. There are all opinions, much of it developed by laboratory research. Much of this is useful, no one denies it. But nearly all of it is limited to fighting the problems of the body. We take sickness and try to cure it. If we had the common understanding of the alchemy of healing, we would not have to cure it because we would not cause it. We are fighting constantly to get over our own mistakes. But if once, somewhere along the line, this principle of unity can take over, and we can find in oneness of character and conduct a great release. We get a shadow of this, of course, even now, in the things that are happening. We are being warned against certain indulgences and certain mistakes. Medical science says if you don't take on cocaine, you're not going to have to suffer from the consequences. Well, this is perfectly true. But there should be something else, deeper, that prevents the individual from even considering the use of cocaine. It is not a matter of curing against a whole public mass of people who want to do as they please. The problem is that there is one right way, and that right way transmutes all the mistakes that are dependent upon that particular right way. So in politics and in all these problems, we have to realize that there is a divine government. There is a government of realities. There is a government which we have all been seeking for a long time. And to gain it, we have to realize that this government is the same thing exactly as that which we must impose upon ourselves. Our own bodies contain more living units than inhabit the earth at the present time by many, many times. Yet we have no great problems with them because they are occurring within a disciplined pattern. The same way we have to discipline society. There has to be a relationship between man and nature. What we should be striving for every moment is to find the ways by which all complications are resolved. This is the transmutation process. Selfishness must be transmuted. It is not destroyed, it is given a form of idealistic regeneration. Every fault that we have is a virtue misapplied. It is something that should be done differently. But we don't destroy energies. We simply give them an opportunity to express the best of themselves. So this alchemy probably is going to go on for a little while during the present century and into the century that is yet to come. We are beginning now, and while it's not easy, we are beginning to realize that we cannot do exactly as we please. That if we insist on trying to succeed at the expense of everyone else, we will all fail together. This is not the way it is done. It is not that we are here to get all we can. We are here to give all we can. We are not here to dogmatize. We are here to learn. And education is a problem of the gradual search for the sovereign reality. And this sovereign reality has always been a matter of the highest spiritual development. It is something in which here and there one will arise, born or cultivated, by who by his own or her own inward values becomes aware of the facts. And maybe not yet has anyone been aware of all the facts. But we are gaining step by step the first big lesson. And that is that there are rules, the game of life, and these rules are not made by human beings. These rules are inherent in the life principle itself. We cannot misuse life without sorrow. We cannot take something that is intended for the common good and try to apply it only to ourselves so that we may have special profit. This will not work. So we watch around us. We see things that a lot of people feel very unhappy about. But we also realize gradually that our own fumbling is becoming